Casey. The construction of Solomon's temple stands as a pivotal event, shrouded in historical accounts and interpretations. Our focus today is the correspondence between King Solomon and King Hiram of Tyre, a collaboration essential to this monumental project.
It's fascinating how the biblical narratives themselves differ. The books of Kings and Chronicles present distinct versions of the wood supply from Lebanon and the request for a skilled artisan. Chronicles seems to embellish the account, possibly drawing from additional sources.
Exactly, and it's noteworthy that Masonic lectures often favor the Chronicles version with its richer detail over the simpler account in Kings. This choice shapes the Masonic understanding of the temple's construction.
There's also the curious similarity between Solomon's request for a skilled artisan and Hiram's response. It raises questions about the authenticity or potential doctoring of these exchanges. Were these accounts altered over time to emphasize a particular narrative?
W.J. Atkinson pointed out parallels between Hiram Abiff's attributed accomplishments and those of Bezaleel and Aholiab, who worked on the tabernacle in Exodus. This connection suggests a potential archetype of the divinely inspired artisan.
Beyond the biblical texts, we have Josephus's account, claiming copies of the correspondence existed in his time. However, biblical commentators generally express skepticism about his version.
And let's not forget Eusebius, who, drawing from Eupolemus, presents a version where the king of Tyre sends an architect of Jewish descent from the tribe of David. This is considered an early reference linking Hiram Abiff to an architectural role.
While the authenticity of Josephus's and Eusebius's accounts remains debated, Eusebius's version is particularly intriguing regarding the origins of the Masonic tradition surrounding Hiram Abiff's architectural significance. These variations invite us to consider how history, tradition, and interpretation intertwine.
Let's delve into the textual variations surrounding Solomon's temple construction. The books of Kings and Chronicles offer differing accounts of Solomon's requests to Hiram.
Exactly. The chronicler's version, often favored in Masonic lectures, embellishes the details of the wood supply from Lebanon and the request for a skilled artisan. This contrasts with the more straightforward account in Kings.
It's interesting how Masonic traditions gravitate towards the chronicler's embellished narrative. What does that suggest about their interpretation of the story?
Perhaps they find deeper symbolic meaning in the added details, or maybe the embellishments simply make for a more compelling narrative.
Another point of interest is the similarity between Solomon's request for a skilled artisan and Hiram's response. It raises questions about the authenticity or potential doctoring of these accounts.
It does seem a bit too convenient, doesn't it? Like a carefully crafted exchange designed to emphasize a particular point.
W.J. Atkinson noted parallels between Hiram Abiff's accomplishments and those of Bezaleel and Aholiab, who worked on the tabernacle in Exodus.
That's a fascinating connection. It suggests a possible archetype of the skilled artisan, drawing on earlier biblical narratives.
So are we looking at historical accounts, carefully constructed narratives, or a blend of both? The variations and parallels certainly give us much to consider.
Casey. Josephus offers a fascinating, albeit debated, account of the correspondence between Solomon and Hiram. He claimed copies of their letters existed in his own time, a claim most biblical scholars find dubious.
So what makes his version so different?
It's not just about the content, but the context. Josephus was writing for a Greco-Roman audience, potentially shaping the narrative to resonate with them. Now, several versions of the old charges, specifically from the Spencer family, paraphrase Josephus's account.
The Spencer family?
Yes, 6 versions to be exact. These include manuscripts like the Fisher-Rosedale, Songhurst, and Inigo Jones, dating back to the early 18th century. Then there are the printed versions, the Spencer print, Cole print, and Dodd print.
And these old charges, they're essentially Masonic documents?
Precisely. They lay out the history, traditions, and regulations of Freemasonry. The fact that these versions draw from Josephus, even if indirectly, tells us something about how his narrative was received and adapted within early Masonic circles. It suggests that Josephus's version, despite its questionable historicity, held a certain appeal or authority for these early Masons. It's a lens through which they viewed the temple narrative. Let's turn to Eusebius. His account, sourced from Eupolemus, offers a unique perspective. It suggests that the King of Tyre dispatched an architect of Jewish lineage, specifically from the tribe of David.
This is fascinating because it's considered the earliest known reference associating Hiram Abiff with the role of an architect. It really places him in a specific historical and genealogical context.
Exactly. And there's an alternative translation of Eusebius's writings that provides even more detail. It speaks of Solomon requesting not just an architect, but also a large workforce.
So what was Hiram's response, according to this translation?
He supposedly sent 80,000 Tyrians and Phoenicians to assist with the construction, in addition to the architect of Jewish descent. That's a massive contribution of skilled labor.
It certainly highlights the scale of the project and the close relationship between Solomon and Hiram. But as we've mentioned, the authenticity of these accounts is often questioned by biblical scholars.
True. However, Eusebius's version is particularly intriguing because of its potential connection to the Masonic tradition surrounding Hiram Abiff's architectural expertise. It offers a possible origin point for that narrative.
So while we can't definitively say whether these accounts are historically accurate, they provide valuable insight into the development of the Hiram Abiff legend and its significance within Masonic lore.
Now, let's shift our focus to Josephus's role and perception within Masonic traditions. While American lectures often refer to him as the great Jewish historian, British working generally omits him.
It's interesting how perspectives differ. We'll examine how Josephus's works have influenced some old charges, even without explicit acknowledgement. It seems his influence is subtle, yet present.
Exactly. Early church father Eusebius regarded Josephus as the most learned man of his day, and Jerome dubbed him the Greek Livy, highlighting his literary talents. But not everyone agrees on his accuracy.
Right. Some consider Josephus's history a loose and inaccurate paraphrase of the Old Testament narrative. It raises the question of how much we can rely on his accounts.
The Jewish Encyclopedia offers a more tolerant view, suggesting Josephus's errors reflected the errors of his time. Perhaps we need to consider the context in which he was writing.
That's a fair point. It's also suggested that Josephus's historical efforts may have been politically motivated, designed to counter prejudice against the Jewish people and institutions.
So his work could be seen as having an agenda. And, of course, Josephus's account of King Solomon's temple may reflect the accretion of legendary material over time. It's hard to separate fact from embellishment.
James Ferguson even criticizes Josephus for exaggerating the dimensions of Solomon's temple and conflating it with Herod's temple. It seems there's plenty of room for debate when it comes to Josephus's reliability.
Casey, so while American Masonic lectures often cite Josephus as the great Jewish historian, British traditions tend to omit him. It's interesting how perceptions differ.
Right, and even though some old charges show Josephus's influence, it's rarely acknowledged directly. It's like a subtle undercurrent.
Early Christian figures like Eusebius held Josephus in high regard. Eusebius considered him the most learned man of his time, and Jerome even likened him to the Greek Livy, praising his literary talents.
But it's not all praise. Some view Josephus's history as a loose and inaccurate paraphrase of the Old Testament. It raises questions about his reliability.
Exactly. The Jewish Encyclopedia offers a more tolerant view, suggesting that Josephus's errors might simply reflect the common inaccuracies of his era. It's a matter of historical context.
And we have to consider the possibility that Josephus's historical efforts were politically motivated. Perhaps he aimed to counter prejudice against the Jewish people and their institutions.
It's plausible. His account of King Solomon's temple might also reflect the accumulation of legendary material over time, making it difficult to separate fact from embellishment. Casey. James Ferguson, a noted architectural historian, leveled a significant critique against Josephus's account of Solomon's temple. He argued that Josephus exaggerated the temple's dimensions and, crucially, conflated its features with those of Herod's temple, which was built centuries later.
So Ferguson is saying Josephus didn't accurately describe Solomon's temple?
Precisely. Ferguson pointed out discrepancies between Josephus's descriptions and archaeological evidence, as well as comparisons with other ancient structures. He believed Josephus, writing well after the fact, relied on both memory and perhaps a desire to impress his Roman audience, leading to inaccuracies.
What would be the impact of conflating the two temples?
It muddies the waters significantly. Solomon's temple, also known as the First Temple, was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. Herod's temple, or the Second Temple, was a much later reconstruction, grander in scale and incorporating Roman architectural influences. Mixing the two makes it difficult to understand the original design and construction techniques used in Solomon's time.
Are there specific examples of these exaggerations or conflations?
Ferguson highlighted Josephus's descriptions of the temple's height and the size of its courts. He suggested that Josephus inflated these dimensions to create a more impressive image. Also, details about the ornamentation and the materials used might reflect Herod's temple, which was known for its lavish decorations, rather than the more austere First Temple.
So, how do we reconcile these conflicting accounts?
It requires a critical approach. We need to compare Josephus's writings with other historical sources, archaeological findings, and architectural principles of the time. Recognizing the potential for embellishment and conflation is crucial for a more accurate understanding of Solomon's temple. Ferguson's critique serves as a valuable reminder to approach historical texts with a discerning eye. In conclusion, the correspondence between King Solomon and Hiram of Tyre, as depicted in various historical texts, presents a complex and multifaceted narrative. The variations in biblical accounts, specifically between Kings and Chronicles, highlight the potential for embellishment or the use of supplementary sources. Masonic lectures, for instance, often favor the Chronicles account, showcasing how interpretations evolve and adapt over time. The striking similarity between Solomon's request for a skilled artisan and Hiram's response does raise questions about the authenticity or potential doctoring of these historical records. The parallels drawn by W.J. Atkinson between Hiram Abiff's accomplishments and those of Bezalel and Aholiab, who worked on the tabernacle, further enrich the narrative. Josephus's account, while doubted by many biblical commentators, offers yet another perspective, claiming copies of the correspondence existed in his time. The Spencer family versions of the old charges, paraphrasing Josephus, demonstrate the enduring influence of these accounts. Eusebius's version, drawing from Eupolemus, introduces the idea of an architect of Jewish descent from the tribe of David, a potential early reference to Hiram Abiff's architectural role. While the authenticity of Josephus and Eusebius's accounts remains a subject of debate, Eusebius's version is particularly intriguing in the context of Masonic traditions surrounding Hiram Abiff. These diverse accounts, despite their questionable origins, provide valuable insights into the cultural exchange and architectural achievements of the ancient world.
Ultimately, the story of Solomon's temple construction is a rich tapestry woven from historical fact, legendary embellishment, and evolving interpretations, offering a glimpse into the complex relationship between history, tradition, and belief.